of National Disability Employment Awareness. Hi, happy National Disability Employment Awareness Month. My name is Mary Bai Huking, and I am Ira's social media manager. I have a condition called albinism, which is the cause of my vision impairment. It is a lack of pigment in my hair, skin, and eyes, and it basically means that I'm really light sensitive. I need high contrast. I can see color pretty well, but I really struggle with details. So when it comes to smaller things that are farther away, recognizing people's faces, that can be really tough for me. I've always been really fortunate in my life to have really incredible role models in other people who are blind and low vision, who were working in different fields and having examples of what it is to be capable and what it is to accommodate for yourself and really ask for the things that you need. One of my very first jobs was working at a sandwich shop, making salads and sandwiches and serving soup. And I remember it being really hard to know where all the different ingredients were. They were laid out in front of you with labels, but of course I couldn't read any of the labels. And that was at a time where I didn't feel very comfortable advocating for myself. I didn't feel very comfortable talking about my vision. So I kind of decided I should just struggle through and make this work. Definitely not what I would recommend. I think that now, being a little bit later on in my life and knowing myself a little bit better, feeling a lot more comfortable with my vision, I kind of wish that I would have been able to ask. I think I wish I could have asked for more resources or more support, or at the very least for some of our labels to be made in a larger print. I think when it comes to the workplace, what I've encountered the most is just a lot of confusion. What I realized is that nobody knows your vision better than you do. And people will always kind of default to what their assumptions are about you and what you're capable of. And to be honest with you, a lot of people are not great problem solvers. They'll kind of see a situation and think, oh yeah, you probably just can't do this, rather than come up with any creative way for it to work. I'm really grateful for the resources I had during school, because I was given a lot of tools for how to advocate for myself and understanding what different options are out there for me when it comes to accessibility. I think I found that one of the things I am most grateful for, and that I always try to encourage others who are in this space and who are learning how to advocate for their vision, is really learning yourself. Knowing what it is that you need, knowing what situations work best for you, what situations you struggle with the most, and then being able to come up with creative solutions for how to make things work. As I mentioned in some of my earlier customer service jobs, I was really relying on memorization. I wasn't very good at advocating for myself, and I would typically kind of struggle through rather than asking for things to be put in a larger print or to find that different creative way of doing things. So I think it just takes time in the workplace. It also takes time working with those who are really safe to make mistakes with, because sometimes, you might ask for an accommodation that ultimately maybe you found a way that works a little bit better, or maybe this needs to be adjusted. And I think within advocacy, that can be kind of a hard part, is that it's not always we have a problem and here is the perfect solution. Sometimes it takes a little bit of problem solving through the process to actually learn what works best for you. Now, later on in my career, I've worked for roles that are primarily computer-based. So I'm typically using assistive technology. I'm a Mac user, so I am really heavily relying on Zoom to be able to do my work. I think it's funny, I often forget how different it is the way that I maybe do my work compared to somebody else. I honestly don't know how people can just see their whole computer screen. I have to zoom in on this tiny portion so that it is big enough that I can just sit in a normal position and look at my computer. And it's actually kind of crazy to me. I forget a lot that people don't do that. I've also been fortunate for my two most recent roles have been working with organizations that were specifically for the blind and low vision. So it's been a lot easier in those instances to ask for the things that I need and to feel that my perspective and accessibility is a priority. I think the funny thing is, though, is you realize how hard it can be to advocate for yourself at times. One example is I currently work for Aira. We are an assistive technology company specifically for the blind and low vision. I actually, when starting my role at Aira, ran into a bit of an accessibility ask that was actually pretty small, but still felt hard to ask for. We use a platform called Slack, and each of the different channels are given a name. Each of the names is separated not by spaces, but by a different character. So typically we would have those separated by a dash. And one thing that I noticed was it was really hard for me to see what the individual words were when there was not any space in between them, and recognize that using an underscore actually made things a lot easier. So I wanted to ask that the company consider shifting over the way we were naming things so that the channel names would be a little bit easier to see. And I had this moment before asking of feeling like it was too much, feeling like it was an inconvenience, and feeling like my need for something to be more accessible wasn't that important. And, I'm glad I was able to push through that and make this ask to the company. We've since made that change. But it just makes me realize, like, if it is this hard when you are at a company that offers accessibility for the blind and low vision community, like it is a hard thing to ask for. One thing that I have really learned from my time as an employee, as a student, is that the person that my blindness impacts the most is me. And the person that my blindness inconveniences the most is me. I think that within our workspaces, we should be able to expect that the people we work for and work with care about us and value us. And if that is true, if they do care about us and value us, then they will also care about and value our experience, and especially when it comes to accessibility. I think it takes a lot of courage. I think it takes a lot of strength. And even though, it can be a lot harder to adapt to your disability, I think in some ways I'm now very grateful for that. I think that having to work through that process has made me really resilient as a person. It makes me better at problem solving. It helps me realize that there are probably more ways of doing this and that I should keep looking for creative solutions. I'm grateful for this experience, as tough as it can be sometimes. Thanks so much for joining us for National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and stay tuned for more stories from our staff and explorers.